Dane, what are the oats testing after you ran down to the element? Quit yelling! We got plenty of time. We're gonna
Do you see him right there? Do you see him? Here. You see him moving?
Oh, I see him. He's right there on the tree. Don't move.
I saw a blue-tailed skink.
A blue-tailed skink. And what's the native habitat of the blue-tailed skink, Jet?
Your mom.
What about my mom? My mom is your grandma.
Yeah, I know.
Wooded areas.
So show us the picture, Claire.
They live in wooded areas from South Carolina.
Hold on. Wooded area. Okay, we're gonna do a pan shot here. Look at the woods.
Look at the woods.
Look at the woods. Oh, there's a windbreak a half-mile away. Do they grow in Kansas? Why don't you internet search for that? Does the blue-tailed skink live in Kansas? Do it. Search. This could be a major breakthrough scientifically. Look at those stumps going on that phone. Yeah. No more mama jokes.
We'll see if it'll load.
Huh?
It's loading. Aha! Fort Hays State University.
What? Read it. Okay, there's a university in Kansas called Fort Hays
I want to
State.
see a picture of one.
Your cousin graduated from there, so yes, there is a Fort Hays State. What's it say?
The common.
Ain't too many trees out at Fort Hays, I'll tell you that.
It's known as the common five-line skink.
Okay.
Lane's in Kansas and lives in Kansas. This is what I saw.
There. Show the people what you saw.
That's what I saw.
Well, I'm not going to say you're wrong.
And it says
I'm just
it
going to
lives in
say that
Kansas.
in 50 years of living in Kansas, I've never seen a blue-tailed skink.
Well documented in the forested eastern third of Kansas. That's us.
Well, that would be us, but there's no forest here. Okay, guys, welcome back. We are making the best of the bad situation of the oats going down. So you can see what we're doing here. We are taking the straw, and I have the kids hauling straw bales off as quick as I make them, because we're going to come back and plant Sudan and cowpeas here for full pasture for the cows. It's kind of dry on top. One of the not nice things about the V-rake when you take it out into a field situation like this is it stirs up the dust. There goes Dane on the mighty 255. It stirs up dust, and you wind up picking up a little bit of that dust in the bale. But things are working pretty good. The oat straw was still, the funny thing about the Sumo oats is that they still had some green in their stems. The oats actually tested 13.3. The oats that I combined were actually dry. Now I was running with my fan speed high, and I was blowing a few of the small oats out the back and a few of the wet oats out the back, but they tested 13.3, so we had real good oats. You can't complain about the oats. And so if I just get some straw rolled up here, I had to come out and swath the straw. This is not behind the combine, this is behind the swather. Anyway, I swathed it, and exactly one day later, there's the creek. Don't want to go off that ledge. Swathed it, and then one day later I had Claire rake it here a little while ago, and now we're rolling up the hay. So this will be excellent bedding for the cows, and they will love nibbling on this straw. And the way there was a little bit of green in the straw, it'll be real good quality stuff. So thanks, guys. So a funny side story, guys. My kids are, you know, working machines and they're exhibiting real good capability now, but when I told Claire that she needed to follow me pretty quick to the field, she didn't think she needed to follow me real quick to the field. So they both showed up, 3 or 4 days ago when we were baling wheat straw. And we hadn't swathed that, and I had them chasing the baler. Well, they had to do a lot of chasing. She didn't think the bales were gonna pop out in this field like they did in the wheat field, where you hadn't swapped the crop afterwards and taken all the straw. But anyway, she had an unpleasant surprise here when she showed up at the field a little bit ago, because when you swap the Sumo oats, and the Sumo oats were over belly button high, you get a lot of straw. Yep, they're hauling like mad. They're only going about a quarter mile, 3 bales at a time. But they're not keeping up with the old man, and they sure as heck ain't gonna catch him. And when I have super clean and big, fluffy, straight rows like this, I can bale a lot of straw fast with this Vermeer baler and this tractor. The net cycle on the Super M, listen for the beeper there, that's how long the net cycle was. I don't think it's quite 20 seconds, but you can make a lot of hay fast. My neighbors that have Super M's, a lot of them don't even shut off their PTO. When I'm baling with my tractor, I do shut off my PTO every time, and I probably wouldn't have to, but years ago, when we first got the baler and I brought it home before I figured out that the rubber drive rollers were worn out on the baler, that first summer I had a real hard time. I broke about 6 belts in a row real fast. And I think the main reason was the rollers were worn and they were allowing the belts to crawl up on each other, and so anytime I hit something green that would push a belt to the side, the drive roller wouldn't hold it true and would allow the belt to crawl up on the next belt and then proceed to break itself or pull its lace apart. So anyway, my bargain Vermeer baler that came from the custom country down in Oklahoma, you know, at the end of the first year, I didn't want that to happen anymore. So before the second year started, I invested, you know, I don't know, I think seems like they were $3,400 for 2 new rubber drive rollers for this baler. But we did that, and the problem was solved. And so, you know, you don't know how frustrating it is when you're trying to bale hay, and every day you go out, you pull a belt apart. After a while, you get pretty touchy about pulling belts apart. These belts on this Vermeer, I didn't have the lacing thing for the alligator laces yet, so after I'd bought 3 belts at I think $320 a pop, I figured out that we needed to do something a little bit different. So after that first summer, I invested in an alligator lacer, and I went and talked to my good friend Brad Edelman, an organic farmer. And anyway, Brad's run a 604M for years and made silage, you know, silage bales, high moisture bales with it. And I described my problem to him, and he said, well, you need a lacing tool, and you need to keep some of those broken pieces. And anytime you break a belt, you put a lace on and you put a patch in the belt. You don't have to have a new belt. And after I had bought those new belts, you know, it was, I was getting into a situation where my lengths were wrong anyway, and so I learned how to just measure a belt and put in a patch and keep on going. And it's kind of funny now, if I showed you the belts on the baler, you would see that all of the belts on the baler have patches in them. Not a single one is a solid belt. Well, there might be a solid belt, but the only, you know, you like the alligator laces. They're easy to put in, and you can do it in the field if you have to. As long as you have a straight edge and a sheetrock knife and a hammer and a good tape measure, you can do it in the field. Anyway, none of my fancy, nice new belts survived that first summer. Now they all have patches in them. And knock on wood, I have yet to break a patch in one of the patched belts or one of the spliced belts. So, fun, fun, fun. So the reason it did not occur to me to put a splice or a short tail in a belt was because the baler before the Super M was a J. I ran a 604J. And I can honestly say in all of my time, I probably ran it for 6 years and probably put, I don't know, 20,000 bales through it. But in all my time of running the J, I had never broken a belt. I had done a lot of things with that J, but I had never broken a belt or pulled out a lace. And the rest of that story is that that J still had its factory Vermeer belts on. And they were not 3-ply, I think they are 2-ply, the lighter duty belt. But I know that they were Vermeer belts because they had the date stamp on them and the little triangle. Like Vermeer had, Vermeer belting had date stamps on it. And so, anyway, the J was a bulletproof baler if there ever was one. They were tough and crude and simple, and they were just a dang good baler. I ran that J for years and never had any belt trouble. The way you knew the hay was too wet with the J was you'd be baling along, and at that time I was baling with a 85 horsepower tractor. So when the hay, when you killed the tractor, the hay was too wet and it was time to stop baling. Well, that is the monkey. So the final tally is 24 bales off of 8 acres plus the one I have in the chamber, which is, survey says, just short of 4 foot. That is what the Sumo oat straw did on very fertile bottom ground when they were planted timely. Okay guys, we're back. It's later in the evening, coming up on 7:30, and there is the oat field that we were baling. And so we are pushing hard. I'm going to do 2 disc passes. There's the first pass over there. The surface is still a little bit rough. So I am coming back and doing a faster, shallower pass so that I could seal in the moisture. There is good moisture here. I think there'll be plenty of moisture if I can cut down through the surface residue with the Kinsey planter. I think even without a rain I'll be able to get a stand of the sedan and cowpeas. And so with a little bit of luck, come the end of August, you know, in 45 days, our cows will be able to come down here and get a nice bite of green stuff. And they have the creek and the river, they have the hollows to go lay in. So that's what we're doing with our beautiful bottom field here. It's not very big, but it can sure give you a return every year. Okay guys, we are back the next morning and we are planting the Sudan and cowpea. So how I'm doing that with the Kenzie planter is I have the outer row on Sudan and rows number 2 and 5 on cowpeas, and the inner 2 rows 3 and 4 on Sudan. And so the net effect of what that will look like is it'll be 2 rows of Sudan, 1 row of cowpea across the field. I do have the population set on 180,000 and it is running right. In these high residue, I didn't perfectly smooth the seed bed, and there's a fair amount of residue up there, and so this is another instance where those notched opener discs down there, they really come in handy. They really roll clods and residue right out of the way. And so we are at the middle of July. Today is, I think, July 14th, and so they're predicting 93 temperature today and tomorrow, and most likely for the foreseeable future. So we're out here relatively early in the morning before I lose my moisture. We are sticking the seed in about 2 inches deep. And the nice thing about bottom ground, I am right here next to the beautiful creek. The nice thing about bottom ground is that there is still good moisture down below, and so if I can get that seed into moisture, it will pop. And with a little bit of luck, 45 days from now, that last week of August, we'll be able to let cattle out here to graze. Okay guys, so we're here for the final step. There you can see the ground, and you can see what my openers on the Kenzie did. I just got done planting about half an hour ago. There you can see the moisture, and you could tell that we were planting right down there on the undisturbed ground. And so hopefully by setting those cowpeas in the Sudan there, we will have moisture. So the final step involves the trusty old broadcaster. And what we are doing, I'll crawl up here, we are planting the turnips. I showed you a picture of that. And so what I did there was I used rye to cut the turnip seed and hopefully carry it and spread it. And so you're thinking to yourselves, well, how did Jack calibrate that machine? Because I'm looking at the chart and there's no mention of turnips. Well, many of the things that we do are experiments, and so what I did was I left the gate pretty much wide open. What's the setting there? I've got it set on about 11. And if we go back to the chart here, there's a thing for rye there. What's it say? I don't have my glasses. See if the camera zooms up there. Rye grass, that's a different kind of rye. Anyway, it was a big guess. No, there was not a lot of work involved in it, but ironically, it's coming out very well. And so what I've done is I've upped my ground speed to about 15 miles an hour. And I've opened my gate up and I cut the turnips with rye. And when I did that, surprisingly, it's pretty accurate. So this was the final step in my first year in a, what you call, I guess, a multi-species cover crop. I don't know if the rye will grow, or if it does, it won't grow until we get a big rain, and probably the same with the turnips, but that is what we are doing, and it appears to be working pretty well, and I'll show you. Hopefully I'll make one more video on this field, you know, like when we let the cows out or after the crop comes up nice, and we'll see what the cover crop looks like. Thanks guys.